When I first came up with the idea for this presentation, I was thinking about the difference between the insurrection of '68 and the kind of social movements we've seen nowadays, the kind that really saw efflorescence with the Occupy movement, with the Arab Spring, and the movements of 2011. And one of the most dramatic differences, I think, is in the composition of work itself and what it is that workers object to about their jobs. It's not even alienation in the classical form. It's not even exploitation. An enormous percentage of people employed in wealthy countries today feel their jobs aren't just meaningless, they're actually literally pointless. That if these jobs didn't exist, it would make no difference to the world whatsoever. Obviously, when people say, they pay me 50,000 euros a year, but to do nothing, what they're saying is the market is not, in this case, a good judge of the value of work. And the complaints that people had quite regularly was, if you want to dedicate your life to something that actually helps humanity, that for caring for other people in some way, they'll pay you so little and they'll put you so deeply in debt that you can't take care of your own family. This is terrible injustice that the more your work benefits others, the less you're paid. What has changed is information technology, and especially professional, managerial, administrative, clerical, and supervisory work. People like that are the most likely to report that their jobs are utterly pointless. Middle managers will often say secretly, I'm supposed to make sure people do their work. If I weren't there, they would behave exactly the same way as if I were. The creation of bullshit jobs is the very thing that you imagine wouldn't happen under capitalism. We all know that the Soviet Union, socialist systems created endless positions like that because they had an ideology of full employment, so they had to create jobs whether or not there was something that needed to be done. You would think that a private firm would not do this, but actually most of these jobs are not in the public sector, they're actually in the private sector. Any large corporation seems to be riddled with unnecessary positions, and anyone who works in such a corporation, other than the person running it, will be the first to admit that. Up to, I think, 40%, according to surveys, of workers actually think they're working at absolutely nothing. Well, what does worker struggle look like in a situation like that? And the idea of the revolt of the caring classes comes from my experience of Occupy Wall Street, that if you look at the web pages we created for people who are too busy working to actually to participate in the occupations but supported the movement, the overwhelming majority of them were people who worked in health, in education, in social services, in taking care of people in one way or another. So I realized that the great mobilizations nowadays are often around care workers, around education, around health. Much union struggle has been centering on this more and more. What if we were to go back and reimagine the proletariat, the working class, not just now, but from its constitution, as a class of people whose primary work was actually care work? So what if we were to go and reimagine the value of labor in that light? If you think about it, what caring is work which is directed at maintaining or augmenting other people's freedom, looking at freedom in the broadest possible sense. So if we started from that, what would our idea of the economy be like? And how would that be the basis for reimagining what a working class is and what kind of claims it could make?